So Miss Elizabeth Ngami Sianja has served as a program officer at the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, Family Life National Office since 2019. With over 9 years of experience in safeguarding, child protection, marriage and family ministry, and gender-based violence prevention, she has played a key role in strengthening family life program across 26 Catholic dioceses in Kenya. Ms. Elizabeth has contributed to the development of KCCB Guidelines on Marriage Preparation and Accompaniment 2025, the Manual on Psychosocial Support and Family Resilience 2023, and the National Positive Parenting Program 2023, which provides pastoral adjuncts with tools to support families holistically. She holds a degree in sociology and communication and is pursuing postgraduate studies in medical sociology and public health. Passionate about enabling Catholic families to be true sanctuaries of love and life while upholding the authentic teaching of the Church, Elizabeth actively serves as National Technical Working Group focused on family issues and is a member of the board of the KCCB Seminaries Endowment Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first speaker, Miss Elizabeth Ngami, who is going to take us through the first theme entitled Hope and Paradox in the Institution of Marriage, in the work of single parenthood. And therefore, just as all of us have smartphones, I believe we always have to update the app or the version. And therefore I invite you, when the speaker is coming, to share with us. Can you update our apps of the brain, our best version of our brain, our thoughts, so that we are able to really accommodate the content that our first speaker is going to share with us. And so, with a round of applause, we welcome our first speaker, Miss Elizabeth. Clap attention, which is the please. Just clap attention, which is the
Pilgrims of hope,
together in prayer.
Together in prayer.
Pilgrims of hope.
Thank you very much for having me. My sincere gratitude to Father. I was listening to the introduction messages or remarks that have gone, and I was already feeling like, you have already started talking about what I'm going to speak about. And so as I take us through the reflection on hope and paradox in the institution of marriage in the week of single parenthood, I pray that we will journey together in this reflection and we shall look at where the hope is and what is the paradox. And so my introduction, I've been introduced fully, so I'm not going to say anything about myself. I think that is adequate, or even more than adequate. So I serve in the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, whereby I work in the National Family Life Office, which is a department within the Commission for Pastoral and Lay Apostolate, headed by Bishop Joseph Mongela of Kitui Diocese, and the National Family Life Office is headed by Bishop Wallace, who is the Bishop of Military Ordinariate. And so I'm very privileged to be here with their blessing and also the blessings of the General Secretary of KCCB, And so thank you very much, Father, for having me here today. Thank you very much, Sister Kabala. I have done it with her for so long, and Sister sits in the advisory committee of the KCCB National Family Life Office, and she has really influenced a lot of work that we do at KCCB, and I will be sharing some of that in my presentation. Now, when I got this invitation, I looked at this topic, and at some point I was asking myself, why did you, I don't know if it is Sister who influenced, or Father, you're the one who influenced this. And we kept talking with Father Dunstan, and you keep me posted, you would update me the kind of audience to expect and all that. And I was just looking at the role that the office that I serve is mandated with. And this is the promotion of marriage and family life, you know, accompanying married couples, accompanying families, you know, ensuring that we are continuously forming those who are getting married, but also those who are in marriage. Again, you know, looking at how do we address the challenges that are in there. And so I did not anticipate the single parenthood as the big topic that I will be handling today. And so I pray that I will be able to handle it, you know, competently, and especially to show where the hope is in the midst of all the challenges that marriage and family life is facing today. So my presentation is going to look at these three areas, that is marriage as created by God. And I am looking at all of you, and I would imagine that you have covered adequately on the definition of marriage as created by God. And so I was just wondering, you know, what is it that I will bring in to help us to reflect on this topic together. So marriage as created by God, and then the paradox in the institution of marriage today, then the hope. And I think this is where our emphasis of this symposium is on. There is Pilgrims of Hope as the Exodus mission of the Mother Church in Africa. So despite the challenges, and especially the singlehood, and I am just looking at all of us, we all come from a family. And I would imagine that we've all encountered, you know, single parenthood, whether directly or indirectly. We've seen single parents in our communities. And what is the stand of the church? What hope do we give them? And I think as Father was giving his remarks, he talked about this, you know, accompanying the single parents. And so we are going to reflect on these three critical areas. And so to start off, I want us to reflect on marriage as created by God. And on this, I just picked a few, you know, areas that would help us to reflect on in line with the theme of today. And we all know that marriage is a beautiful thing. Is marriage a beautiful thing? Okay, marriage is beautiful. I know you said yes, but all of you are not in marriage, and so it is not to say that you're missing out. Because you're in a sacrament, right? You're in a sacrament, and you're in a sacrament of service. And marriage is a sacrament of service, you know? And we are all as a result of marriage, right? And so we are blessed, and we agree that marriage is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful gift from God. And we reflect on that in the book of Genesis, where we see that, God created Adam and Adam looked lonely. Isn't that what you see in the Bible? He was lonely, and so, God saw that there's something missing in this man. And so God brought him Eve, from his rib. And when you look at that, isn't that a gift? So Adam was gifted by God. I think that was the first man to receive a gift from God, and the best gift of all times. And he actually, he said it, that, finally, it's like he was waiting for something, but he was not saying it. It is like he was looking for something. He could not go and tell God, hey God, I'm missing something here, there's something missing. But God is, we know that God is beyond all knowledge. And so God saw that there was something missing in this man. And God brought him Eve. And I know when we reflect on the single people, the other day we were in a celebration of Bishop Wallace, as he was, at a Thanksgiving Mass in his home. And, the bishop of the day was giving someone, Bishop Joseph from Garissa. He said, he just asked for the people who stay single, what is it that they're waiting for? Okay, not, for you, you have already made your choices. So we are reflecting on the people out there who have chosen to be single, not circumstantial. There's, being single by choice, and there's the one that happens, perhaps you lost your spouse, or, we have different scenarios that lead to singlehood, right? And so the question is, are they praying? Like maybe Adam was praying and so God heard his prayer. We are not told if he was praying, but he looked lonely. And so God gifted him. And I think that is a reflection of today, that, marriage is a gift from God. And so how do we promote this gift so that we encourage hope despite the hopelessness that we are seeing? Sometimes we've heard that those who are in marriage want to get out of marriage, and then those who are out want to get into marriage. So how do we promote and encourage this sacrament of marriage in the society where we are today, and that many, many people will desire this gift and will pray for this gift that comes from God? The matrimonial covenant by which a man and a woman establish between themselves, and this is what we see as definition of marriage from Canon Law 1055. It is a partnership of the all of life. It is by its nature ordered toward the good of the spouses and the procreation and education of the offspring. And this covenant between the baptized persons, it was raised by Jesus Christ himself, and we see this at the wedding of Cana. So the seriousness that comes with marriage, and that's why, when we look at the challenges that we are facing today, first is to ask ourselves, do the people getting married fully understand this institution as designed by God? Do they understand that it is a partnership of the all of life, for the good of spouses? Does it become a burden, or does it become a good? Have we had people say that for them it is a burden? Have we had people complain about marriage? Do you encourage them, or do you tell them, by the way, you should reconsider. And then you show them that it is even better to be on this other side. Do we encourage them when they come to us? You know, when we are talking about life, and sometimes we go to a friend with a challenge, there are those people who will actually make your problem look so big. I don't know if we've encountered that. There are those who make your problem to look so big, and you actually start to feel like, if you are in seminary and you approach a friend and you're telling them how challenging this life is, and there's someone who will even tell you, I told you. They are there, right? They are there. And they will actually try to tell you how happy they are being, not married. And they will even be not the ones praying for you. But there are others who will encourage you. There are others who will even send you quotes, send you links. There are others who will even give you books to go and read about people who have gone through the same challenges that you're facing and how they overcame that. There are people who will tell you their stories and how they overcame it. And so that tells us that, marriage, I was listening to a friend the other day, and she was telling me her husband was working out of Kenya for some time, and they decided to do this for some time, and then he reunites back with the family, and and so one day a friend tells her, now is the time for you to enjoy life. You should be going out, you should be, you have all the freedom now. And you can imagine such kind of a friend, just because you're living far away from each other, this friend wants you to actually be going out, allow, there are these people who just want to live life freely, without commitment that they made to each other in the sacrament of marriage. And so, sometimes we are told when you're having challenges, you see, you look at who are you going to share your challenges with. Is it someone who will actually increase the burdens that you're carrying? Or is it someone who will actually help you to see the light? And this light within the sacrament of marriage is, telling us to reflect on the sacrament, telling you to perhaps, unite with a group that offers continued support and accompaniment to strengthen this institution of marriage. And marriage is a lifelong partnership, rooted in mutual good and the gift of life. Therefore, a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. I don't know if nowadays many people are living as one flesh. I reflect a lot on these words, and we were reflecting on it the other day with a friend. And we were saying, what is this oneness that couples promise each other during the wedding day? And we read from the Bible that the two they shall become one. But do they totally become one in their finances? Do they become one in their way of doing life? Do they share the same values? Do they share the same vision in terms of where they want to be? Or, one wants to go to Nairobi, the other one wants to go to Mombasa. Will these two meet if they are coming from Kisumu? So you've taken a bus from Kisumu and you've said that we are going to Nairobi, but then, there's an express route from Kisumu to Mombasa. So one person just decides on the way that, actually, I think I want to go to Mombasa, to the ocean to swim. So this oneness is no longer there in that case. And so, people have, some of these issues And this oneness, where it doesn't come, the phone. Is it a free, can I use my spouse's phone? Can he use my phone? Or everyone's phone is their private gadget. We've heard of people say that my phone is a private device. Is it truly a private device? In marriage, should it be? I know you're not in marriage, but and you've heard of what people do in marriage. There are those who put passwords everywhere. You open the phone contacts, password, messages, password, WhatsApp. So, there's so many shells. But then, what about the oneness? What about being naked with each other in marriage? Isn't that what oneness means? But then when there's all those shells, it means that there's some bit of this oneness that is not allowed by some of the couples. And that leads to a lot of, does one feel safe in that way? We know of people who snoop to their husbands' phones. We've heard of those. When the husband goes to take shower, the wife sneaks in very fast to look at what is there, who he has been chatting with, who he called that day. And sometimes the children see and they ask, Mom, kwa nini unachungulia simu ya daddy? Because, why are you snooping to dad's phone? Because sometimes they do that, and when the father is coming back, they quickly return it. And children seeing such things, they do see. From the beginning, marriage is presented as a divine institution. It was willed by God as a union of a man and a woman. And we know the threats that we are facing nowadays. Are we seeing the opposite of this? Have we seen the opposite of this? Are we seeing unions of same gender? Man and man, woman and woman. And sometimes they even go to an extent of having a child. From where? Where are they getting a child? And they already opposed to the procreation. So, this union of a man and a woman is something really we have to insist on. Because if we don't see that, then we shall continue to see a lot of singlehood. We will see, people choosing to just be single because they know that, in these unions, I hear that sometimes they choose free, you're free to be with whoever you want. So yes, they are, I don't even know whether to call them a couple, but yes, they are a couple. But they're not married. They're just in a union, right? Because you know what marriage is. We know what marriage is. And by definition of marriage, you know that all of us cannot say that we have same-sex marriage. We will only talk of same-sex unions because they are not marriage. Because God instituted marriage between man and a woman. Marriage forms the foundation of family and society, and it is a lifelong commitment marked by faithfulness. Faithfulness. Is it happening nowadays? There is a lot of infidelity in marriage for some couples who choose, when things are difficult, instead of me sticking with my wife or my husband, I go and look for a safe corner out there. I go and look for someone else to share, the challenges, or to share, about the problems that you're going through, to share about the beauty or the successes that I have, but I don't share the same with my spouse. And we're creating, more relationships out there than inside, There are people who say that, I've been married 7 times to the same woman. How does that happen? Marriage is a process, and marriage is mysterious, and being married, like when we got married 5 years, okay, it's more than 5 years ago, the person you got married to that day is no longer the same today. People change every day. People change, right? I'm just imagining like yourselves here. The day you met and you introduced yourselves to each other, perhaps you have a friend here. Do you feel that the person you met that day when you met is the same one today? Have you known more about them? Do you see new things in them every day? And you're like, I didn't think you can do that. And the other day I was listening to someone and he was saying, so the wife, even the love language changes every day, the love language. So, today she wants this and tomorrow so every time, so he tells her, just keep me updated. Because she's not static, and for him, he says, his act of service, his language of love is act of service. And that has been constant. But women are dynamic. We change every day. Today I want this, tomorrow I want something else. So the man tries to, you follow through. Because again, you have to maintain this relationship, this intimacy in marriage. And that is what makes couples stick together every day. And the Pope Francis used to say about, creativity in marriage. Because if couples just relax and they're not innovative anymore, people get bored, right? We all get bored if you're doing the same thing every day. But if you keep innovating, you keep, looking for more ideas on how to express love, on how to, be there for each other, the places to visit. And that calls for a lot of connectedness, a lot of commitment, the self-giving. If someone is holding something, withholding, do they allow themselves to be known by others? You can imagine here, maybe it's your classmate and they're always very reserved. How easy is it for you to know that person or to interact with them? Is it easy? You can imagine someone who doesn't talk and they don't tell you, when they're in problem, when they're not in problem, when they're happy, when they're not happy. Can you know that person? It is not easy. But when it's that self-giving, then you allow the other person to come into your world and to understand who are you and what makes you happy, and especially in the context of marriage. And that is why we've had, I don't know if you've heard of this, we have couples who are they're married, yes, but they're living like single people. They are married but they are single at the same time. Is it possible? Do you think it's possible? Is it possible? There's someone who says no. It's possible. Imagine if you've enclosed yourself in your own world. And we come to the house, I go to my bedroom and he goes to his bedroom. And we wake up in the morning, I take my car, go to work, and he does the same. And being single and living together, sharing the same roof, So even this singlehood that we are talking about, is it just for those who have, self-proclaimed, and we can see that they've not entered the institution of marriage? Or is it also a challenge of people being in marriage but not being intentional about the marriage life? And so they will live days, months without talking to each other. and they will communicate through their children or through text messages. Do you think it's possible or it's happening? Do you think it's possible? It is happening in some marriages. There's a man who told us he has just retired, and so he went back home. He was living away from his wife and children for years. So when he's retired and he's back home, he feels like a total stranger. And actually that is how the wife views him. And they have no connection. They have no connection at all. And so they use notes. That's how they communicate. So when he's leaving the home, he'll just leave a note for her. Hey, good morning, I am going to place ABCD. And so, you know, they've been doing this for some time now, and this is an old couple. You can imagine how that does. Can you imagine that life? Where you're living with someone, and this is actually your spouse, not just your classmate or your colleague, but this is your spouse. And so what happens such that people will get to that level of not being able to stay connected, and now they're living as single people, even though in marriage. Do people intentionally maintain that connection? I always challenge people who live far away from each other, especially because of work. You know, you have to maintain that relationship. Just imagine yourself being here and you don't call people at home, and you stay, I know there are those who don't have phones, and you go for like 10 years without calling your parents or your siblings, and so one day you just appear. How would it be? Will they, if you used to be very close, will that closeness still be there? They will have so many questions. What did I do to this person? You know, how has she been? Is it that was she, there's so many questions that go in. And so people in marriage sometimes, when they're far away from each other, they do not maintain that connectedness. And what are those things that maintain that connectedness? One of them is communication. So whether I'm here this morning and my people are on the other side of the world, if you just make that phone call, it helps. And nowadays we even have WhatsApp, people can video call, they can chat, they can, so being present to each other's life intentionally. Because again, people give a lot of excuse. Oh, I was so busy, work, I didn't have money to come home. And there's just something we normally say, especially in marriage. Yes, the spouse is working far away from home, and he will send money, and he will send everything, but there's just one thing that he can never send. And we know what that is in the context of marriage. We know what it is. I can see you already know what it is. Isn't it a gift in marriage? Isn't it a gift in marriage? An obligation, actually, to each other. It is a right, Father says. And so imagine a couple who can go 1 year and he's just working in Nairobi and the spouse is in Busia. And he doesn't go home the whole year, he goes home in December. You can imagine that, and there are spouses who live like that. We understand circumstances that can lead to that, like maybe he's in military, and so he cannot go home every now and then, but couples have to make an effort so that you're not single. Even at work, I normally tell my colleagues, those who live far from their spouses, It's like you're single but married. I mean, look at men who live far away from their spouses. He just eats outside, mama fua. I mean, everything. He sources out every service that he wants, like someone to wash their clothes, someone to cook for them, or if he can't cook, or he'll go buy food from outside. And the intentionality of uniting every now and then. You know, it is just the simple sacrifices that you talk about. You know, someone can say, I will deny myself this month this, so that I save fare to go home in 2 weeks, in 2 months, to just go and be with my family. But then we have now the challenges of those who are living together, but they're single. So we can talk about so many contexts in the Bible, in the church doctrines, in the magisterium. We can talk about so much about, how God created marriage to be as a beautiful institution that should be cherished, that should be nurtured. And how do we nurture that institution? But then, in addition to all that, and despite how good we know that marriage has been put, there's a paradox. And even though it was intended by God as a lifelong covenant, we can see increasingly the challenges that come with the fragility of human relationships. And so what are these challenges that are making it not to stand as a lifelong institution? We know of separation in marriage, and why does it happen? So that, you can imagine on the wedding day, this beautiful couple, this beautiful lady in a white gown, and this man in a very nice suit. On that day, if one day if you just tell them about separating and being single, it's nothing that is closer to their minds at that moment, isn't it? They are just imagining of this beautiful journey of marriage. They are seeing themselves, the bed of roses. But then what happens? Just reflecting on some of the challenges that are leading to the complexities and that are sometimes leading to now the singlehood, the infidelity, domestic violence, We have young people getting, they're afraid of getting married. Why is it so? Are those in marriage showing them that marriage is beautiful as we know, as we have heard from the teachings? Or are they making them to really doubt this institution? You can imagine a child who's growing up in a violent home. A child who's growing up seeing their father beat their mother. What goes into their minds? If she's a girl, can she wish to get married? If she sees the mother beaten every day, it's either she normalizes it and thinks that that is the order of marriage. But then does it reflect the beauty that God created in marriage? You can imagine a child who grows up and they are neglected by their parents. And the parents are very busy, and especially in the society today, the parents are very busy looking for income and hardly have time for their children. And these children are left to the screens, with the social media, with all these other people to take care of them, but not the parents. And so, what image do such children have for marriage life, for family life? And some will actually feel like, I don't want to get into this because, if I grew up by myself, our parents were never there, and they grow up with a lot of rejection in their heart. And even finding love will become a challenge, because then they will be afraid of getting into a relationship and being abandoned, because they have been accustomed to being abandoned by someone who loves, who should be there for them, someone who should be there for them, and that's their parents. And so that person, when they're grown up, they will actually find it difficult to be in a relationship. I don't know if you've heard of people who just have a big challenge getting into a relationship. They are there, right? And they hold back a lot. They're afraid that I get in and then I'm left. I get in, and some of it is because of the childhood experiences that they went through. They were rejected, they were neglected, they were abandoned. And we are seeing also the redefinition of marriage. But as a church, we have to stand strong and defend the true definition of marriage. The single parenthood that we are talking about today is a big issue. So despite the challenges that we are seeing, people still believe in love, people still believe in commitment, and people still believe in the family as a sign of enduring hope. Isn't it so? Do we believe in marriage? I think that is why we are here, because we have hope. Pope Francis talked about strengthening the family, because therein lies the capacity to love and to teach how to love. And and that's why we are doing all these programs, and especially on marriage preparation and accompaniment. You can imagine someone who grew up with so much abandonment. What would it take for you to make them to believe that a relationship, that a marriage is good? Isn't it a lot of work? It is a lot of work. We have to take them through healing. We have to sit down with Gen Z and tell them that marriage is good. But then how do we do that? So that they don't say that they fear marriage. We have to show that there's good examples of marriages that have worked. I've seen couples 50 years, 40 years, so many years of marriage. I look at my grandparents. We celebrated their 50 years in 2023, 50 years of marriage. And they are very much together, up to date. And so I remember that they were asking grandpa and grandma, what is it that has kept you together? And it is about being intentional about each other, about choosing the sacrament of marriage every day. So we have to teach the people in marriage and encourage them to see and look at marriage as a beautiful institution. But it needs us to really journey with them step by step. For the single parents, it's not the ideal that you seek. But the church recognizes the dignity, the resilience, the grace that is present in families. Single parents have children, right? Are the children innocent? Do they deserve to be accompanied by the church? By the pastoral agents like yourselves? They do, right? And so, these men and women, even as we support them, as we offer pastoral care, as we accompany them, when we are running our programs, there are programs that target everyone. Like there's a program we call Positive Parenting. Is it positive parenting for everyone? Because actually the single parents, sometimes they need more accompaniment. Perhaps someone, the spouse passed on. Perhaps, it is a separation that happened because there was a lot of violence in that family. And children have to be safeguarded, have to be protected. How do we accompany these people? How do we help them to discern even the life that they are in? How do we help them to discern and to reintegrate them into the church, so that, and we see from the canon law that the church should accompany those who experience separation and single parenthood, calling for compassion and pastoral guidance. And this is not the canon law, sorry, it's the CCC. And the single parents must find in the Christian community a home that welcomes and supports them. And this is what we see from Amoris Laetitia. And the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. So accompanying them must be our mandate, so that they don't feel like this is a church that neglects them in the time they need it most. We do not form a communion of single parents in the church, right? But then we accompany them with programs that help them to live life awesomely and in line with the church teachings, in line with the gospel. So some of the programs that we really promote in this journey of accompaniment, and this is really to strengthen the institution of marriage. As I mentioned, we have the marriage preparation guidelines and accompaniment that talk about, from remote preparation, proximate preparation, immediate preparation, celebration, then accompanying these who get married. I always challenge the priests, you don't live us at the altar and say, now go and live in peace and happiness. We need to be accompanied every day, because, this is a new institution. These are people who used to live separate and now they've come together, and there's responsibility, and there's even children on the way. How do we strengthen that bond of marriage? How do we ensure that, couples don't feel like now we are on our own? So this accompaniment is very important. For remote preparation, we talk of from ages 0 to 18. Who is there to show the children that marriage is beautiful? That's the parents. And even in absence of, the immediate parents, we always encourage a responsible person in the community, in the family, who can help to mentor. You can imagine children being raised by a single mother. Don't they need to see a father figure? They do. So how do we ensure that we accompany these people in marriage? We have a program we call the Faithful House. And this is a formation program for young couples that just helps to look at, you imagine of the traditional heart, the African traditional heart, and it had different pillars. It is, from the foundation, how was it being constructed? And so we take couples through that journey. And who should build that house? Is it one person? Is it the two? When it comes to parenting, is it the father to raise the children alone? Is it the mother to raise the children alone? Or is it the two to do this? And this marriage, as you look at the foundation of the Faithful House, we talk of being founded in God. And we see the Bible that a house that is built on sand will it stand? Unless the Lord is in there to help that marriage, it will not stand. And that's why, so we look at the pillars, they represent, like we talk of the windows that represent, the light that comes in. We talk of the roof that brings, the consciousness, the door that allows, transparency, So we talk of different components that really help to ensure the connectedness. We talk of communication and different components that can really help to strengthen that marriage bond, and the natural family planning program. And this is about being open to life, because we know that that is one of the goods of marriage. That is one of the commands of, or the call to couples who are married. That is one of the functions that they have to fulfill. Being able to, procreate and then raising those children responsibly. Then we have resilience and psychosocial support, looking at different challenges in marriage and accompanying couples in their different steps and stages of life. In some dioceses, because in all dioceses we have family life offices, so we have coordinators, and some of the dioceses have actually put very good marriage counseling programs where they allow couples to just come in and get counseling, get support. We have competent counselors. I'll talk of even here in Nairobi, we have the Office of Family Life, there offers counseling every day. I can talk. My time is running out very fast. And we have the positive parenting program, and this really emphasizes on parents creating a strong bond with their children. Children need to feel loved in their family, and that will bring a lot of affirmation, protection and care, and they will not feel neglected, and they will grow with a lot of self-esteem as well. Then recently we were just looking at the renewed pastoral care for marriage and family. Have we done continued catechesis on marriage and family? And so we were, accompanying different pastoral agents, and we are reflecting on the canon law teachings on marriage. It's very important that the lay leaders and especially understand the institution of marriage and help to even pass on the same information to their members, and especially CWA, CMA, PMC, catechists. So those are all the people we really try to continuously form, so that we know that the marriage institution is promoted every day. So we recently launched this document, Marriage Preparation Guidelines, which we are really hoping that we will have now couples not just formed one day or prepared one day for their marriage, but it's a period. It takes time for them to be adequately prepared so that they fully understand the sacrament of marriage. Now, as we reflect on the challenges that are facing the family and the different programs that we have, there's always hope. And one of the hope we find is that there's this research that was conducted in 2002, and it showed that unhappily married couples often find happiness after like 5 years of remaining committed to each other. Challenges come every day, even here, I'm sure. All of us have faced our own challenges. But if you remain committed, then these couples, it showed that they were able to find a way to reignite the love that once was there in their marriage. And the grass is always green on the other side, but if you have no that pipe to go water your grass, even if you're brought to this nice grass here, it will dry, right? So imagine if this person is always looking for the grass that is always greener on that other side of the fence. If they don't water their grass, even if you brought them here, like outside I can see very nice green grass. If you bring someone there who doesn't take time to water that grass, will it not dry? It will dry, right? And so marriage needs to be, people have to look for spices. People have to water it every day so that it stays. And we can really have it as a lifelong institution. So loving intentionally, respecting, serving one another, walking daily in love. Not just to say we fell in love, and so we fell in love, and so what happened? When you fall in love, what happened? You rise and you go away. So really walking in love is what St. Paul calls us in Ephesians. And we're told, walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. So couples are called upon to walk in love every day. We have to remind them, and that is the hope. And love is like fire. If it is not continuously rekindled, it can go out, right? You can imagine if you have, leave alone the gas we are using nowadays, you can imagine the traditional firewood, the firewood, and you're using them to light and cook your food. If you don't keep putting more firewood, what happens? The fire goes out and so the food will not cook fully. So we have to encourage couples to, and that is the hope again. The fire has to be rekindled. Because in Matthew we see that, the increase in wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. It will grow cold, it will not be fun anymore. If people just take each other for granted. If people just enter the house and you don't greet your spouse and you go on with your daily duties and the day is over again and you don't even ask each other, how was your day? Intentionally asking how was the day, You can imagine, how do you feel when someone asks you, how are you? Or how was your day? Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Now imagine just imagine a couple who's married. I don't want to say imagine your spouse. And someone comes in and goes out and that is a daily life that they don't check on each other. Doesn't it become lonely? It does. It becomes lonely and it becomes, you start to feel like there's something missing. And this has become very cold now, The sacrament of reconciliation, striving to forgive and to seek forgiveness with humility. Communication with love. Putting on the gloves, especially during conflict. We are told to put some gloves. Don't just call it the way it is. And in marriage, we normally encourage couples to use the I feel statement. And when you say, this is how I feel, it brings the other person closer to you, right? As opposed to if you say, you did A, B, C, D, and you left and you forgot everything I told you to do. I sent you to buy for me this and you always forget it. Someone was saying actually 2 vocabularies that shouldn't be in marriage. Always and never. Always and never. When you're criticizing each other and you're saying, you always forget, you never do this for me, you never buy me flowers, you never take off your shoes when you're entering the house. That is a big problem for men, I know. So you never take off your shoes. But this man, once in a while, he takes off his shoes. So is it never? It is not never, because once in a while, they take off their shoes. And so, just saying, I feel, I would feel appreciated if you came home early, or if you told me that you're going to be late, I would feel, I feel unhappy when you don't tell me that you're going to be late. I feel that this food would have been sweeter if you put less salt. Food, there's a way salt just falls into the food, a lot of it. Isn't it? We know women, right? You're cooking and your intention was not to put a lot of salt, but it happened. You just find that your food is very salty. And so what does the husband say? You always cook bad food, but you don't always cook bad food. Sometimes the food is very sweet. So love bears all things, it believes all things, and hopes all things. We have the call that comes from God himself, and this is for John Paul 2. He says that this love comes from God himself, who created man in his own image and likeness, precisely as man and woman. And a call to young people to set out on the path of married vocation, which means to learn marriage, married love day by day, year by year. It is not like, that's why it's not falling in love, because falling in love you can just fall and fall, or you can fall and rise, but then intentionally walking in love. If this couple are intentionally walking in love, then every day they seek to grow this love that they share. It is precisely this love that young people need if their married future is to pass the tests of their own life. And the Pope was actually talking to young people. And so this, I think, is just a call for us to look at, even as we reflect on the young people and the institution of marriage and the paradox of singlehood. I always ask nowadays, how many people are getting married in the church? Has the number gone down? And why is it? Are people just cohabiting and remaining uncommitted? You know, they cohabit and say, if it doesn't work, you just go. There's no time. So that's the danger we are having, and that's why we are seeing a lot of singlehood. Because people get in and one leg is in and another is out. So we have to really help the young people, and especially, so that they can believe in the sacredness of marriage, in the beauty of marriage. And we know how the Bible very well defines marriage, and even our church documents. So how do we bring out that message, well packaged, for the young people? But they're not just the message, but let them also listen to couples who are older, who have been living in this marriage, who have lived and passed the test of time in terms of, challenges come and they go and they continue to remain united. So it is our duty to bring the hope that is safe to see. And our theme for this year as a marriage and family ministry office was Families as Pilgrims of Hope. And we are also now talking of married couples as Pilgrims of Hope. We are talking of us as pastoral agents as Pilgrims of Hope, so that the beauty that we see that God intended marriage to be, we can witness it. And always to call upon Jesus Christ, as we see at the wedding of Cana, is that Jesus was invited into the marriage. So let us encourage couples to always invite Jesus Christ into their marriage. Let us invite even the young people as they are discerning marriage, just like Tobit and Sarah, were accompanied by Saint Raphael. That young people will also invite, the Spirit of God, Saint Raphael, that they will invite Jesus Christ to accompany them, that they will enter into the institution of marriage with hope. And we are the ones to actually help them to see that there is hope. So thank you very much. And sorry, I'll take a few more minutes. Thank you very much. I wish you God to bless you.
Deep thoughts there on the institution of marriage, right? And I think the foundation, or to summarize everything, is that we as agents or pastoral agents need to continue to give pastoral care to the people who are getting into this